Torq Resources is a junior mining company headquartered in Vancouver, British Columbia, focused on the exploration of large-scale copper-gold projects in Chile. Torq's part of a group of companies led by myself and my partner Ivan Bebek, who I'm sure many of you are familiar with. We also have companies such as Tier 1 Silver, Fury Gold Mines, and Sombrero Copper. You may also know us from some past successes, Keegan Resources and Caden Resources. I'll mention those a little bit later in the presentation. Next slide, please. I'll be making some forward-looking statements during this presentation, so just briefly, please take a look at the disclaimer. Next slide, please. So what does it take to make a good project or a good campaign? How do you organize yourself to be able to go into a jurisdiction, a foreign jurisdiction, and be successful? Well, really, it comes down to your people. It comes down to the experience of those people, and it comes down to the jurisdiction itself. So Torq, after doing a long global search for where we wanted to be with this company, how we wanted this story to play out, we chose Chile. A couple of reasons why. One, Chile is a storied, solid, one of the largest copper producing nations in the world. Mining is fundamental to the Chilean economy. Therefore, we feel that the jurisdictional risk is less. And the amount of technical, legal, and financial, and environmental, and ESG talent available is second to none. The mining professionals and the people that you get to work with in a place like Chile have been doing as long as anybody, and they really do know what they're doing. This helps keep our cost of capital down. It helps us provide additional benefits to the local communities by putting those salaries into the local economy, as opposed to having Canadians fly down there. Another thing we look for is exploration upside. You know, how big are the mineral systems? So in Chile, the mineral systems are huge. They host massive mines, some of the biggest mines in the world, biggest mining companies in the world, and that's why we're there. So exploration upside is fundamental to any project that our group takes on. So far, we've taken on two, and I'll speak about that in a moment. I will also mention that our team has a good track record of past success, being able to finance, discover, and then monetize those discoveries. And I'll get into that a little bit later. Currently, Torq has about $7 million in the treasury, and we have, again, with our track record, a good ability to raise additional capital. Next slide, please. A little bit about the capital structure and the ownership. Torq, my partners and I, we own about 30% or 25% rather, management and directors of the company, close associates and other financial partners. Own about 30% of the company, and the rest of it is held by retail. You know, the high insider ownership aligns us with our shareholders. If we win, you win. We don't pay our salaries in the high end of the spectrum for a company like this. We're in a more reasonable level. So in other words, we're not a lifestyle company. We're here to make money off building capital appreciation. We want to make sure that when we win, our shareholders win, our local stakeholders win, and that's fundamental to how we structure and run our business. Currently, we have about 77.5 million shares outstanding, fully diluted, 84 million, and I mentioned earlier about roughly $7 million in the bank. You can tell by the chart that we do have pretty tight ownership. The stock isn't particularly volatile because it's, people that are bought into the company understand what we're doing. They bought into our business plan, and so we have some stability in that respect. Next slide, please. Our management team, again, it all comes down to people. So you'll note a couple of people here, myself and Ivan Bebek. We are the founders of the company, and as we have been founders of numerous companies. Torq is our company that we're focused on Chile and copper, and complementing Ivan and I, our other partners, Michael Kosowan and Michael Henriksen in particular, as our chief technical person. Michael has had a long storied career with Newmont Mining, and he has had a global perspective. And essentially his job for Newmont was to go around and find grade that would go into their mines. And Michael's got a fantastic breadth of experience in South America and Africa, and he's leading the charge from headquarters in Vancouver. In Chile, however, in the last year, one of the things you'll notice the name Waldo Quadra here. I think it's really important that I stop and take a moment to speak about Waldo and his team. Waldo and his team came to us as we entered Chile. They were people that we were using to screen projects, and we got to know them really well, and we noticed such a continuity or a synergy in the way that we did things. And and of course, not that I want to belabor this because everyone's sick of hearing about COVID, but COVID had taken grips over the planet. People were unable to travel, and the only way you're going to work anywhere, particularly in a foreign jurisdiction, with borders closed everywhere, was to work with people in that country. Fortunately for us, Chile, again, as I mentioned earlier, has a very deep breadth of talent. Waldo and his team each have at least 35, 40 years experience. They're connected at all levels of ministry and government. So issues like permitting and social license and so forth. I mean, they've done this. They've also been part of, importantly, they're geologists and technical people that have been part of major discoveries. So they know what a project looks like before it's a mine, before those drill holes go in, before you, so informing that picture is imperative that you have people like Waldo, and we were very fortunate to have made a deal with them late in 2020, where they came and joined our team full time, and now they make up our Chilean business unit. Next slide, please. Can we advance the slide? Oh, thank you. Speaking of track record, in about 2003, Ivan and I started a company called Keegan Resources, and we went into West Africa. We went from 0 resources to 5 million ounces. During that time, the stock traded between 49 cents and $9. We raised about $350 million for it. And I'll talk a little bit about exit strategy here too. It's always nice. We come to these things and we talk to you investors about how you can get into our companies, but how do you get out other than just selling in the market? What's management trying to do to create value for you? So for us, really, we are an exploration focused group. And there are sort of two outcomes, two good outcomes that we could have. Obviously, there's the one where your project doesn't work and you start again. But when they do work, this is what we like to do with them. One would be to sell the company. And that, in the case of Caden Resources, a Mexican epithermal gold project that we sold in 2013 or 14, I believe, for $200 and some million to Agnico Eagle, a modest takeover, but it provided liquidity and success to shareholders at a time where that wasn't happening a whole lot. So that really helped put some wind at our back and solidify our group's name with the investing public. Our previous company, which I started speaking about, Keegan, we found that 5 million ounces in Africa. That didn't provide us with a corporate takeover. It just didn't happen. So we realized that we had to pivot at that time and bring in an operating team, a management team. We had to step aside as the drivers of the company, put in the people that could do it. And that company now is Galiano Gold, produces 250,000 ounces a year. So that was also a success. Next slide, please. I can just reiterate this in-country scenario. Here's the resumes of the gentlemen that I talked about: Waldo Quadro, Javier Roja, Pietro Pelicek, and Luciano Bocanegro. These are all complete rock stars in their own right for what they're good at. So please remember those names, because if you're following our story, you're going to be hearing about them a lot. Next slide. So we've made 2 acquisitions thus far with Torq. And, we've come into the country and we like to dip our toe in when we do a country entry. Country entry is very expensive. It's a big commitment. And, in this sort of multidisciplined ESG environment we're all in right now, it's not something to be taken lightly. You go into a country, you make promises to people, you make partnerships, you make associations, and they can't be fleeting. These are commitments you make. And we take that very seriously with our business. It's part of one of the fundamental cornerstones of how we operate. So we've acquired 2 projects so far, the Margarita project and the Andrea project, both of which we're extremely positively excited about. But at the same time, we're still very focused on making additional acquisitions. So I'm going to talk about these 2 projects right now, but also keep in mind that there are other acquisition efforts that are underway in earnest at the parallel with us working on these 2 projects. The Margarita project is an IOCG, or iron, copper, gold prospect. It is situated within the prolific coastal Cordillera belt. It hosts some of the world's greatest IOCG deposits. It's about a 1,000-hectare land package. It's only 65 kilometers north of the Sea of Copiapó. It's at about 1,200 meters elevation, so it's not very, it's not high up. So we can work there year-round efficiently. In other words, it doesn't get a lot more expensive one time a year than the other, so that's good because it's really efficient use of capital is a fundamentally important thing to our group as well. It sits on a large-scale alteration system, magnetic targets. It's fully permitted for drilling. And I'm not permitted enough time to really get into all the technical aspects of it, nor do most of you really want to hear all about it, but it's all available. Either come to our booth after and speak to us, or go to our website and you can get more about it. But we are going to be, we've released some results here since we acquired it, just sort of honing our drill targets. And we're really excited to get drilling here at the end of Q3, early start of Q4. At Margarita. We're going to drill about 5,000-6,000 meters there. We believe that is going to give us an adequate test to see if we're on to what we believe that we are. Next slide, please. The Andrea project. So this is an interesting project because it's surrounded by some of the world's best epithermal gold and silver deposits. Big. You stand on this project and you look around and you can just see mine, and that's always exciting. It reminds me of my career one time when I drove up the Carlin Trend for the first time as a young technical person in my early 20s, and just was blown away by all this, the amount of activity. And really, that's where you want to be. But what's interesting about the Andrea project is it had been explored previously for these epithermal high-grade gold prospects, and there were some hits there. And this was in the early 90s, but they didn't all hold together. So the project was abandoned because no one had appreciated that porphyry mineralization that was lay underneath these epithermal systems. And so that's what our target here is on Andrea. We're going to be trying to find out if these porphyries can be what they look like they are. We have sampled copper on the project. The project, again, is about a 1,200 hectare land package. Very good access to infrastructure. It's about 100 kilometers east of the city of La Serena. Again, in the mining jurisdiction, there's roads and power and everything up there because of the other operations. So we'll be drilling that probably in Q1 of 2022. That one is at about 4,000 meters elevations and therefore has some seasonality to when you can explore it. You can work there year-round, but it does get more expensive, and so we'll be doing our initial test here during the cheaper season, which is the summer season, which is our winter, their summer. So that'll be sometime in Q1 of 2022, and we're very, very excited about that. Next slide, please. So, for what makes Torq an attractive investment right now? Well, the stock itself has fallen down, has drifted down with the rest of the market here over the last month or so after having a bit of exuberance about our acquisitions. But I think that's going to turn around as I think the seasonal market starts to firm up, and also as we get to work in earnest on getting these projects drilled and generating additional results. Drilling at Margarita again will be happening this fall. And there'll be additional news about targeting at Andrea as we prepare it for drilling in Q1 of 2022. As I mentioned previously, we're very focused on making additional acquisitions. Thanks to the quality of Waldo and his crew, his team, we have been getting access to assets that we just simply did not have when it was just our team looking around there. So the amount of quality assets we're getting the opportunity to review now is at an all-time high, and we're very excited that we'll be able to complete an acquisition here in the near term. I'd like to thank you very much for your time today, and please come by our booth. Michael Kosawan, our CEO, Natasha Frakes, and myself will be personing it throughout the conference, and we really look forward to interacting with any investors. Torq Resources, TORQ, on the Venture Exchange. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shawn. That was Shawn Wallace of Torq Resources.